Okay, all right. Let's take a look at this new chapter today, your project proposal. And many of you have experienced writing proposal previously. Um, Again, we will look into how to start writing a proposal in a proper ways. And I'm very sure all of you are going through this now, and we can correct ourselves along the way so that we can adjust accordingly in order to come out with a proper or meaningful proposal. As I have explained to all of you previously, start with a narrative, maybe a one-pager that will explain the following. For example, what the project is about and what precisely you aim to deliver. Where, which organization that you want to develop the project or the proposal for. In other words, who will be your client, isn't it? Who will be your client? Who will be your user? Sometimes this where also can be a problem. It can be a problem that you are trying to look for a solution. Not necessarily an organization, but a problem is given to you. Let's say you are working for a company, then the question where is actually an answer for your problem. You need to look for a solution in order to come out with a proposal. Yeah, and look for the solution for the problem. Then you also can answer the part why it is useful. Why you're going to do this project? Why you need to come out with this proposal? You must know the answer to this question, why, isn't it? So what, where, and why are the three basic questions that you need to answer, or the answer should be provided in your so-called proposal. Next, slightly more difficult to answer question is what we call how. How you intend to deliver. Basically, you need to answer question like how are you going to find the data, how are you going to collect the data, how are you going to analyze the data, what methodology you're going to use, what research question that you're going to ask, how are you going to carry out the fact finding, for example, and how are you going to manage the data, how are you going to analyze the data, how are you going to present the data. All those comes under the question of how. And then next question could be maybe, okay, now you know what to develop, where or who or what solution, what problem, why you are doing it, how are you going to do it. So the next question should be, so what? So whether your output will be good or not, whether your result will be good or not. And if your result is not as expected, how to make it better. Yeah. So what else, what changes, what improvement can be done? And of course, you will attach with initial references. You see, these initial references are important. Sometimes in the proposal, we don't include references. But when you start the project, later on you find it's very difficult to get references. Then what will happen? The student will drop the project. But if you spend some time, do some Googles or research, or search from the internet, hey, is it difficult to find references on this topic? If it is not, there are hundreds or thousands of references available or many ebooks available. What it tells you? It tells you that, hey, this research can be done. Yeah, there are a lot of references. But if you search and then you find only one or two references, what it tells you? It tells you, oh, this research is going to be very difficult to find references. So better you don't go into that areas, isn't it? It will be very challenging for you. So that's the reason why some smart students, they will go and look for this first. table of initial references. All right, please, please do that. Then once you have answers for all that questions, you can put all that together as a proposal. You can either look for a template which is easily available on the internet, or you just need to come out with your own write-up. Consists of those topics, remember, like which we covered in the previous topic: introduction, aim, objective, scope, timeline, and so on. Yeah, aim, objective, like what I mentioned to you last week. Objective got to be a smart objective. Yeah, smart objective. And then you can start look at all your objective, and breakdown of the objective will be slightly more details. And then you can start collecting data or information as much as you can regarding your project. This is where the research comes in, or what we call search, and the references are required. So once you have all this information, you start writing it and put onto a MS Word file, and you can call it draft project proposal, and then you give it to me, to your supervisor. So if you go through this, there is no specific format for the project proposal. Different company or different people, they will be writing it in a different method or different way. So don't worry much about project proposal. Just put all that answers to those questions, and then you start write up using MS Word file, and then you give it to me. Yeah, give it to me. That's what your proposal would be. Okay, in order to help for those who are still looking for a title, yeah, still looking for a title, don't know what to do, what project should I develop, and so on, definitely you got to do some research. Yeah, researching your project. What you can do, of course, nowadays we have Google. You can always Google it out, or like what I said earlier, you can talk to your supervisors, talk to your friends, talk to anyone working in IT companies, or even in a non-IT companies, to get some ideas, to get some ideas. So basically, that's what you got to do here. And once you have started with your project, let's say you have your proposal presented and approved, one of the chapters that you got to write is the literature review. Remember, chapter 2, you got to write about literature review. The difference between literature review and product research chapter 2 and chapter 3, yeah? The difference between chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2, literature review, is all about someone has made some studies or some write-up about your topic in the past. Yeah, in the past. And what they say about that, about your project or about your topic in the past. For example, cloud computing, for example, cloud computing. So maybe you have to do some research, Google or through ebook or through journals or through some white papers over the internet, who have said what about literature review or about cloud computing. And then you pick up their statements, you try to understand it, and then you rewrite. You rewrite without changing the meaning into your own words. Then you consider that as a literature review in your subject, in your report. That is literature review. So you can do the same for all the subtopics that you need to develop for your project. For example, introduction, you got to have literature review. Scope also you can have literature review. Objective, if you want, you can have literature review. Any subtopic in the introduction, you can have literature review. So basically, you got to do a lot of readings on e-book, white papers, internet, some Google search, some e-libraries on a particular topic. And then whoever have said something about your topic, you think it is useful, related to your topic, you pick it up, you rewrite without changing the meaning, you put it into your report. That is literature review. Yeah, compared to product research chapter, is different. Over here, under product research, which will be under the research method, chapter 3, research method, you need to do comparison of existing products which are similar to the one you intend to build. Remember, I told you, for example, you want to build a online food delivery system. So you must compare how will be your online food delivery system with the existing system as of today. The one that available today, for example, GrabFood, Foodpanda, and so on. So you need to compare. It's quite easy nowadays because all the systems are available online. You just go in, browse through, see what are the features they have, what are the features you can develop, what are the features you're going to have extra which not available in GrabFood, for example. So that kind of comparison. So when you do that kind of comparison, you call that product research. Huh? It's the same when we do any other comparison. Cost comparison, for example. I'm very sure all of you, before you join the degree program, you would have done your degree cost comparison with other colleges or universities. How you do the comparison? Maybe you will ask the cost fees, the duration, what are the subjects, and so on. Assessment method, teaching method, and so on, isn't it? Facilities, payment method. So that is where you do your comparison. All that can go into this chapter, product research. But in order to find all that, you must know a method, isn't it? We call it fact finding or gathering method. So all that fact finding method, gathering method, either is going to be interview, questionnaires, or observation, or sampling. All that can be discussed under this topic. So I'm not going to go into very much detail into those topics today, but I'm just giving you some ideas what need to be done in chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, which you need to do in term 1 before we move into term 2. So by end of this semester, I want all of you to share this with me, making sure that you are done, so that you can go into actual development of the system. Yeah, actual development of the system, meaning coding, system design, interface design, report design, which you can finish it in next semester. Okay. So here in this slide, why is product research is important for my final year project? There are some options here, or what we call tips, to give you options or alternative, so that you ended up with a good project. And you also need to justify your own project. You have to tell yourself why am I doing this project compared to not any other project, so that your focus, you are really happy and you justify yourself to spend 600 hours of your time onto this project to complete it. Okay. So there are a lot of other information here that you can read through, which I'm not going to go through into detail, such as introduction, what is supposed to write into introduction, research characteristic, for example, what type of question that you can ask, yeah, in order to collect more information about your research. Literature review, I have just explained to you what is literature review. And then next, what data you're going to collect, how you're going to collect the data, using which method, quantitative or qualitative. We will go through this again and again as we cover or we go into more detail. But basically, this is what you need. This is what you need to do in term 1. Yeah. Then definitely there will be a secondary data. For those who are not very sure about primary data and secondary data, let me give you a quick explanation. Primary data is the data that you collect yourself from the source, original source. For example, you interview person A, you collect the data from person A, that is primary data, direct. You collect the data from the person itself. Or you do sampling, you collect the data, sampling direct, you yourself, by doing the food testing, for example. You go down to the field and you do the sampling and you do collect the data yourself. So in such cases, we call all this data as a primary data. You observe yourself and you start writing the report. You experience yourself and you start writing the report. All this we call primary data. Secondary data is where you do reading, for example. You refer to someone else's data, you refer to a book, you refer to a journals. All that we call secondary data. You ask someone to give you some opinion, view, all that we call secondary data, not primary data. So in a research, most of the time, we will end up having more secondary data than primary data. Or you can have good combination of both primary and secondary data. Or sometimes you will have more secondary data than primary data. It depends. So this is an example of secondary data where you can get it from journals, textbooks, articles, and so on. Sometimes, you refer to some program, TV documentary, and so on. Let me see, there is a message. Okay. All right. High quality research. It's all related back to good research. Good research. Then you might want to make some assumption for your project, just in case. What to investigate. This also comes under investigation. Where to look for information. Literature review. So there are a lot of information on the slides that you can read through yourself. I will not go through because it's all reading, but I think I've shared with you the important method that you need to know for you to write the proposal first, so that you can start with your project without delaying. Okay, so with that, let me go back to your meeting session. So what we have covered so far is introduction to the project, which I have done last week and this week. We have gone through some project proposal topic, how to write a proposal, what are the contents of the proposal, so that all of you can get started and start thinking about it so that you can submit your project proposal. Also, I've introduced to you what is all about project research and literature review, to give you some ideas, yeah, so that you can get started with your project proposal. Before we go into finalizing your topic and before we go into finding the requirements and coming up with the requirement spec, which we will do next week or the week after. But before that, make sure all of you have a topic. Latest, maybe by next week, all of you can have a topic, finalize your topic, set your focus, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who you're going to investigate, or who will be your audiences for your research or topic, investigation topic, so that you can finalize your proposal, get it approved, then you can start with your research. Okay, with that, let me check the meeting here. All right, any question? Any question so far?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording for a while.